Greetings, veterans across the great state of Oklahoma. I'm Brett Martin, the chairman of the Oklahoma Veterans Commission, sitting here today with the director of the Oklahoma Department of Veterans Affairs, Jay Bynum. Today we have some exciting news that we want to share with you and break it down so you truly understand where we are at and what is going on. The governor recently signed into law and created the Oklahoma Veterans Foundation. This is a truly landmark legislation, and it will do so much for our great veterans of Oklahoma. So, Director, let's get started here. Okay, what is the Oklahoma Veterans Foundation?
Oh, thanks, Chair Martin. I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation. I think it's important that people understand. So, this foundation is a separate and distinct organization from the Oklahoma Department of Veterans Affairs, which is a state agency. The state of Oklahoma Veterans Foundation, that nonprofit status with government oversight, will allow the gap that has existed between what the private sector and nonprofits can do for the veterans in the state of Oklahoma and what we as an agency can do with both federal and state appropriations or state money. So there are gaps that have started to widen, and we really haven't had a way to resolve those gaps in funding the needs that our veterans have. So this provides a way, because the state can't make decisions about where to accept resources and donations. We have to be above board, treat everyone equally, and not make choices so that, and nor add to state appropriations. So this kind of foundation will allow the great generous citizens of the state of Oklahoma to be able to give to veterans in very targeted ways that we are precluded by law from using state funds to do. So it's a vehicle we've needed for a while because there's a lot of folks who want to donate. We just haven't had a way to accept those donations. And this foundation will allow that to be done in an independent way that's focused on meeting the needs that we can't meet, nor that the federal VA will be able to meet, and cover those issues that are challenging our veterans and their families.
Great. So why does this foundation matter? There's hundreds of foundations out there across Oklahoma, but why this one?
Well, because it's the state of Oklahoma Veterans Foundation, people can have confidence in it. It's not one of those fly-by-night things that will pop up over time in the moment of crisis where it sounds really good. It's established in law. It's going to have oversight in a way that preserves arm's length and any sort of improprieties that might occur. So it'll have state oversight, but be distinct from the state operation. It'll have its own board. They will be tied in with us. We will reflect the needs as we see them, particularly the needs that are going unmet. And then the board will be able to prioritize places to go seek and ask for help, as well as then when those assets and resources come in to help direct them very efficiently to close those gaps that we might have in the things that we need to offer for our veterans.
That's great. Can you talk about some of the legislative support that we've got on this foundation bill, and the fact that it had an emergency clause in and what that means?
Well, when you produce legislation, it tends to focus on the next fiscal year. So it would delay implementation in many cases. When legislation comes in, it doesn't start until, at minimum, the beginning of the next fiscal year, which is 1 July of 2025 for the state. So with an emergency clause, that allows us to get going. Once that is signed and approved by the governor with an emergency clause, that means as quickly as we can make public notice, follow all the appropriate legal and procedural steps to establish the foundation, appoint commissioners, and then start having the bylaws and things drafted to start operations. We're not hamstrung for having to wait a series of months to do that, so we can get right at it. In my mind, that reflects the understanding of both the legislature and the governor that this is important work. It's work we've needed to have ongoing in the past, and it helps us get there in the most expeditious way possible.
Well, talking about the legislative support and sponsorship, we got great support from Senator Kelly Hines. He made the statement that this legislation marks a significant step forward in our commitment to our Oklahoma veterans. And then his counterpart on the House, Representative Nicole Miller, stated that Oklahoma veterans have earned more than our gratitude. They have deserved sustained, meaningful support. And that's what this does, this foundation. So, Director, can we talk about how the foundation works in reality then, in the future? How will it work?
Gosh, well, this is aspirational, Chairman, because we haven't done a thing yet. But my thought is it's really opens the option window. Let's talk about what we do today and the limitations. So a lot of the activity that we perform in the Oklahoma Department of Veterans Affairs is using grants and reimbursable accounts from the Federal Veterans Administration. A lot of that is aimed towards our veterans' homes, the 7 homes we have for facilities, for the day-to-day care of the veterans entrusted to our care at the state level. But it also has limitations of where those funds can be spent and what has to be taken uh, um, out of those funds and what those funds can't be used for. Now, there are grants you apply for that's competitive across the nation, and if we have a need that goes unmet in those grants, we don't have a method for recovering other than a bond measure or some other form of fundraising. And we don't have an arm that does that. One of the things that an organization like the Oklahoma State Veterans Foundation can do is can address all those needs in and as close to the near year when we would like to get those things done, whether that's goods, whether that's financial resources, whether that's donations in kind in the form of activity or maintenance or functions performed or land or discounted things. That can all be negotiated outside of the restrictions of state and federal law. So it really kind of opens a wide aperture, subject to the direction of the board of commissioners that will oversee that foundation to address any need that we might come across, whether that's a transference of a federal VA funding, reduction for things like wheelchairs and power chairs, all the way up to what we might want to do if we need to modify a facility or add a capability that something we would like to address a need for veterans, but really don't have a very quick turn opportunity to do so. So whether that's adult daycare or whether that's some sort of rehabilitation services for our veterans, it allows us to get moving more quickly because we're unfettered by the legislative process and by the restrictions that come with that under state law.
So, now that we've kind of explained it, how do we get the public involved?
Well, I think one of the key pieces of the foundation will be how do we get the information out? I think that's both a public service approach from a state. It's really kind of a quasi-state entity with ties to state and state oversight with a very focused state mission for our veterans. So part of that is talking about that, and then really once the foundation gets stood up, its ability to more freely move around and negotiate and discuss and engage in the community level, at the commercial level with entities and enterprises who want to give back to the community, just need a pathway to do so, as well as in the partnerships with those non-government organizations and other nonprofits that are veteran focused. So it really has a much more flexible landscape of operations. So I think the key for us is, can we get moving quickly? So how, in a very deliberate manner, so that we get all the things right, dotting our I's and crossing our T's, but get it moving very, very quickly so that we can harness the desire for Oklahomans to give and care for their veterans.
Great. Any other comments you'd like to make to our veterans out there?
Chairman, thank you. It's as always, we need to come find you. We're going to start a campaign this year, along with this outreach in the new Oklahoma State Veterans Foundation. Our job is to connect you with the resources, benefits, and the things that you have earned through your service. So that's we're going into sales. So stay tuned. You'll find us on our website at oklahoma.gov/veterans. We're going to give you some QR codes and some other things to get a hold of us, and stand by to see us on your handheld device or in other places so that we can connect with you where you are to get you the benefits you have earned.
Well, there you have it. To all the greatest veterans in the world here in Oklahoma, thanks for tuning in. If you have questions, reach out to us. We'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. But remember, You gave us your very best. Now we have a new methodology to come back and give you the very best. This is not just legislation, it's a purpose. Created for veterans by veterans with one purpose in mind, to ensure that all of our great veterans in Oklahoma are taken care of and that no one gets left behind. Thank you.